Hello gold farmers, welcome to another golden rats farming video. Today I'm going to try my best at my first, I guess, collage type of video. I'm going to try my best to share with you guys the locations of all of the eggs and which routes I best prefer you guys to take if you want to get the most amount of eggs. So far, it will require quite a bit of testing, and I have gotten the city of Dolinar done, mostly because I've been here for a decent amount already, and I did get off before it got busy, so I was able to really figure out where most of the eggs had spawned. So for the most part, this one wasn't too hard for me just because it's already fresh in my mind about where all the eggs spawn. So I was able to put together a pretty decent, and I'd have to say a pretty good route for any kind of low competition and high competition days. It just depends, I guess, really. While farming this with no competition or very little competition, you should be able to still stick to the same route and pick up enough eggs to make them continue to force respawn. At least that is what I have really figured out. I can't do too much testing on it right now because the time of day there's a ton of people on. So first off, we can start off at this little lamppost that I just collected the 3 eggs from. If you aren't quite sure where this is, then you can head over here to this little sign that shows you where everything is at. The flight paths are right here, and the sign is pretty easy to find, and then you'll just come over here to this little lamppost. You've got 1 egg that'll spawn on this pot, 1 underneath the bench, and then 1 inside of this bush. Then from there, I'll usually come over here up to the side of this building, and there is an egg that spawns right here in this bush, and then another egg that can spawn in this bush as well. As you can see, there's enough people on that caused that one to force respawn. Then from there, you've got 3 eggs that spawn inside of these 3 bushes right here. It looks like they're all up at the moment, which is really good. And then you've got this spot that has an egg inside of this bush, and then 1 underneath of this cart. And then in these bushes, I believe there's 1 that can spawn in each bush. I could be wrong on that. I know there's 1 that spawns inside of this big bush, 1 in this small one, and then 1 over here. And then you've got the 1 that spawns right here on this big pot, and another 1 that spawns right there beside it. And then you can come right over here back behind this tree, and there's 1 that'll spawn right there. And then you've got 3 more eggs. You've got 1 that'll spawn underneath the bench, and then 2 inside of these bushes here. It looks like just 2 of them are up right now. Then here's my favorite spot. You got 5 eggs, you got 1 in each bush, and then 2 in the corners of both steps. So there's a total of 5. And then a lot of times I'll swing back around here just to pick up any of them that might have force respawned. Then I'll head over here to these 2 bushes right here. Usually I'll stand about right here in the middle of these 2 trees, and I should be able to get both of them. Then you got 1 that spawns here in this bush. You've got 1 over here underneath this table. 1 inside of the pond. 1 inside of this bush. Another 1 in this bush, and then you got 1 over here too. For the most part, as you can tell, a lot of these eggs are usually inside of the bushes. You got another egg that'll spawn right here, and then another one that is up right at the moment, and that is it for that route. And then I just kind of loop around here, and as you guys can tell, the eggs are force respawning pretty decently. I don't go around the building twice, I'll usually just go around it once, and then just kind of roam around to find more eggs, which it's been working out pretty well for me. I've noticed people camping inside of this bush, so it's kind of hard to see them. I don't know if they are doing it just to troll people, or if that is the best location to pick the eggs up from. I just know I really enjoy this route because there's several eggs that you can come across. Force respawn is pretty high here. I don't know if you can do it with nobody, so for low population realms this should be a really good spot in general. And it shouldn't take you very long at all to collect enough of the eggs to get what you were after. I will head on over to another zone, so I'll get back with you guys once I get that all figured out. Alright everyone, so we are over here at the Azure Watch, which is the Draenor starting area. And I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know that this place is usually pretty packed, so I have tried to create the best route for this location. I don't really have a whole lot of competition using this route, just quite a few eggs, and every now and then I do have a little bit of competition, but not a whole lot. I usually spawn inside of that bush, 2 over here, 1 beside the crates, and 1 inside of the round crate right here. Then you'll have 2 more up alongside the building that person's already getting. Got another one right here that can be decently hard to miss. You'll have another one right there, 1 inside of this bush, which a lot of people usually miss that one. Then you got another one that a lot of people usually miss in this bush right here. You'll also have 1 right here behind this tree, 1 up here on side of this building, usually spawned right here. And then you got another one that'll spawn right around here somewhere, 1 underneath this side of the lamp post, 1 inside of this bush. Then you can just cut on across over here, and there will usually be 1 underneath this lamp post and inside of this bush. Then instead of going this way I'll just go right on ahead and click these 2 that are down here that a lot of people usually never get. Rarely have I ever seen anybody go down that far to get the eggs, and then I'll just kind of repeat those. You can also just kind of make a loop around if you really wanted to. Instead of kind of going back and forth between those 2 areas, you can just kind of cut across. Try to pick up some of these eggs if you don't have anybody that's really camping this area. This is a very common area to camp, so there's usually never any eggs there. And then you can just continue to gather the eggs. You can also use this building up around here. I'm probably not going to collect the eggs, but you've got 1 that'll spawn right there. Underneath that lamp post you'll have 4 back here in between these 2 structures and the building. 1 inside of this bush right here. A lot of people usually miss those bushes. You have 1 that spawns underneath the building right there. 1 up along this tree. Another one that will spawn right here underneath of that crystal. 2 more that'll spawn between this structure and the building. I don't remember if any actually spawn inside of that structure, but You've got one that will spawn right here in between those two crates, and another one that'll spawn right there on top of the building, one underneath of the anvil, and then one that will spawn right here underneath of the logs, one behind the tree. Believe one spawned right here, yep, and one inside of the bush right here somewhere behind this tree, and I believe two more in between these two bushes. And I don't remember exactly where, but I was thinking there was another one that spawned on side. Yep, I guess it's right here, not on the side of the building, but it's beneath it. And if you really wanted to, you can just go ahead and continue running the other route that I had showed you guys. A lot of people usually do just camp this area or this other area over here that spawns the 4 eggs. Those are the two commonly camped areas. You do have eggs that'll spawn over here inside of these bushes, but as far as that goes for this location over here, there's really not many other locations. Then you've got the ones back here behind these two birds if you just want to go ahead and make a full circle. So I'm going to go ahead and head over to either Goldshire or the Dunmall location. I will work on the Horde video as soon as possible. Alright everyone, so we are over here in Coronas now, and this spot's actually a lot better than what I had thought it would be. I don't typically enjoy farming here just because the last time I had done it, it wasn't a very good experience. There was a ton of competition and just I had a really hard time figuring out where all of the eggs actually spawn, but now that I actually wanted to spend the time and actually find the egg locations, I'd have to say this really isn't that bad of a location to farm. So what I've been doing is I've just been running up alongside these little walls, and I've been gathering the eggs that are actually fairly close to them. Usually I'll come over here and gather the eggs that are up around these locations. I don't really do it in any assorted manner just because of the type of competition there is. There's 5 eggs that spawn up around each wall. I believe it's 5. It's a pretty good amount. It's either 4 or 5. Then you got another egg that'll spawn right here inside of these 3 trees. I believe another one spawned right here. Then you've got another egg that'll spawn in between these 2 trees. And quite a few more up around this building. One right here back behind this pillar. Then the one I picked up not too long ago that'll be right here inside this corner, and then one right behind that little tree stump. Then you'll have another one that'll spawn right here in between the 2 crates. Then one inside of this broken barrel, and then one back behind the broken barrel and that crate. Another one up inside of the little, I guess, crevice of the building. You got another one that'll spawn in between these 2 trees. Another one that'll spawn right here, and then I think another one will spawn in between the other side too. I'm not too sure on that. You got a few of them that will spawn out here in the open. I believe it's just 2 of them. You got one right here on this side of the hill, and then another one on the other side. And then you're back here to the little walls. It looks like people are starting to camp them now, so if that starts to happen, then you can instead of stopping at the wall, you can come right over here. You got 3 eggs that'll spawn out here in the open. Another one right up here beside the flight path. You got one that'll spawn up in between these 2 trees. One actually in between this little set of trees here. And then one that I don't typically worry about, but it's underneath the cart. That one's usually a pain to get, so I just don't really worry too much about it. I've actually been collecting eggs a lot faster here than I was in the other 2 locations that I had shown beforehand, though I think a lot of it's just because not many people farm this in any specific route. It seems to be a very complicated area to actually gather the eggs. There aren't very many spawning locations, at least not as many as the other 2 towns that I had shown. So this one's just a very odd place to gather the eggs, though I really do enjoy it now. So hopefully you guys will at least check it out and let me know how well things go for you. I will go ahead and see what I can get for Goldshire, although it's probably completely packed on my server and I probably won't ever be able to find any eggs. Alright, gold farmers, so I am over here in Goldshire now, and surprisingly I am actually able to not only gather a few eggs, but I was actually able to create a route. So for those of you who don't know, I do play on Moonguard. Also, Goldshire is known as Hornshire, and there's always a ton of people. Look at all these people that are over here right now. There's just a ton of people. You got a good amount of people camping, and there's just a ton of people all over the place. So I was really surprised when I was actually able to find a pretty good route. So usually I just stick around this little blacksmithing building. So if you start off over here by the flight path, you will have 2 eggs. One will spawn over here by the little stair step. You'll have another egg spawn right here. And I don't know all of the egg spawns in this location. This one's going to be really hard to actually get them all. You've got one that will spawn on top of this little light or lamp post, which it did just as I was walking away. You got one that'll spawn in between these 2 trees. You've got one that'll spawn in each of these bushes right here. You'll have one spawn in between this structure in the building, and one between this little structure and the building as well. You've got one that'll spawn inside of this bush, and then one in this bush. You've also got 2 that spawn in between these 2 bushes, but someone's been camping there and I've just kind of left those 2 alone. You got one that'll spawn on top of this lamppost, and another one that'll spawn right here in between the little stairwell and the beginning of that little rounded area. I believe that is most of them. Sometimes I'll come up here and get the one that spawns in that little water bucket, and I believe there's one that spawns up around the building around here somewhere, and then one in between the trees and bushes. So I'll usually just kind of fly back and forth between that. It does look like it's getting a little bit more crowded than what it was just before I started recording this, but if you have a problem with a bunch of people like I do, then you can either use that route or you can join the camping game, and I found a really good spot to camp. So you got a bunch of people here that are just kind of standing there. I don't know how far the reach is where that person is standing, but if you just stand right here in front of this white horse, you can actually reach like 8 different eggs. So it's really not that bad. You've got an egg that'll spawn up top here, another one underneath, one inside of the water pill again, one inside of that crate, and then another one over there. And I believe there are a couple of more that will spawn, but I'm not entirely sure. But for the most part, you can actually reach them all, so that's really nice. Though you do have to deal with a bunch of campers. If you are lucky and don't play on a high population server, then I recommend that you just kind of fly around this building. I can't show you all of the spawn locations because as soon as an egg pops up, someone's already got it. So this building is completely loaded with all of those eggs. I have opened about 1,500 eggs so far, and still no mount. I've gotten several of these spring rabbit's feet, but still no mount, which it's just my luck. If I remember correctly, you're supposed to be able to get one to drop about every 1,000 eggs or 1,500. I don't think that's going to be the case for me, but surely enough other people are a lot luckier than I am. Either way, that is still enough chocolates and eggs that I should be able to get at least one from buying it. So that is always a good sign as well. That will be all for these. I don't really plan on posting a article for this just because it's really hard to actually create a route for such a small area. I've not tried it before, but I don't think I want to attempt it just because it's going to be really hard, and it'll just kind of be hard to follow as well. Either way, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more content.